morning, everybody, and welcome to what may be the noisiest nature vlog you've ever seen, and I'll explain shortly. But first, let me get down a little bit. So I'm at a state park here on the north shore of Long Island. I've shot here before. In fact, I shot some fall foliage photos before, last time I was here. Now it turns out that this part of the park is right along the border of some private property, and the noise you're hearing in the background is the owners of the mansion across the marsh deciding to do some tree maintenance today, which, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So part of the background noise. The composition I have here, I'm looking across the salt flat, which is rating right towards the sound, speaker sound. And I've got basically it's a grove of trees to the right, and it's a marshland in the middle. I got some nice reflections of the trees in the water. The water is pretty still right now, so hopefully it'll stay that way for the next couple of minutes. Unfortunately, it's kind of blue sky, but I'll try to make that work as I compose the image and edit it later. I'll probably take the sky down maybe a bit in post. So my settings right now are 1/30th of a second at f/13, and the lens I have is zoomed out to about 85 millimeters. I am going to trigger my 2-second timer now, since the wind has just about died down. And unfortunately, when I did that, my tripod had moved. I didn't have it locked and loaded. So, lesson to you all, make sure your tripod is really tight and set and not moving at all. All right, so I'm going to try that again. In fact, I'm going to recompose this a little bit. I'm going to pan just slightly there. Now, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take several photos of this scene, and whichever one works out the best, you'll see coming up. So let's go take my first exposure right now. Okay, that worked a bit better, and you'll see whatever works out right after this. Well, I hope my next location is somewhere a bit quieter. Heading up towards the shoreline. I know there's a fishing pier. It's not fishing season right now, but should be some interesting marshland, and might be some shorebirds. I bought my birding lens. I've already shot a few bird images. In fact, you may have seen some B-roll of them at the beginning of this video. So let's see what we get when we get up there. This tree right here behind me to my left is going to be the focus of my next composition. I was struck as I walked past it by the sun as it goes off, you know, the very white branches, and I think it contrasts nicely against the salt marsh that's in the background. So I'm going to set it up to a slightly different position, and then I'll show you my composition and talk you through it. So first of all, before I go any further, I want to apologize for the quality of the sound from this point forward. Somewhere along the line, the wind muff fell off of my wireless Go mic, and I don't know where it is. So apologize for that. Fortunately, it's hardly any breeze, so hopefully that's not going to be a factor. You can still hear the construction noise at the mansion across the way over there. But in any case, what I'm looking at right here is this tree here. I love this lovely V shape that's formed here, and it's nicely contrasted against the marshland that's stretching out behind it. The sky is a kind of clear blue sky, so I've got the camera angled to basically not show that, but I do want to have the tree contrasted against the marsh in the background. And as a result, I'm going to be using a fairly small aperture, I should say a wide aperture, of probably about f5. So let me go set that up right now. Yeah, so I'm at f5.6, 1/60th of a second, ISO 100. I've got the polarizer on here. I'm going to adjust it a little bit just to see what that does. And now I'm going to take the shot, and I'm probably going to vary the apertures with a few different exposures. And whichever comes up best, you're going to see right now, right after this exposure. All right, this time I've taken a completely different angle on the tree, and I think actually this is going to work out better. So here's my composition. As you can see behind me here, the tree is framed between those two pine trees to the on either side, and I've got the beach and the sand marsh backing it up. I'm going to take a few different exposures, but even though there's nothing in the sky in terms of clouds, I really like how the white branches contrast against that blue sky. So that actually might work in my favor, as opposed to having some clouds, which would probably just make the background even busier than it would be. So I'm going to take a shot right now. I've got my lens set at about 25 or so millimeters. I'm at f10 and 1/40th of a second with the polarizer on only. And I think I'm going to take a couple of more just to vary the exposure, to vary the composition a little bit, maybe crop in a little to isolate really the branches against the beach with no trees visible actually, and whatever works out best you're going to see right now. Maybe more than one. This is interesting. I want to show you all something that many of you are not aware of, even those of you who live in the Long Island area. What you see here is prickly pear cactus. It's actually native to sandy areas on Long Island, as far as which is opposite is pretty far north. It's not the desert. I mean, it's desert, semi-desert, the habitat, but of course, it's a temperate zone. But this is prickly pear cactus. Right now, it's dormant because of the winter. But I'm sure when I come back here in the spring and summer, it'll be all fleshed out and looking just like the prickly pear cactus you would recognize if you saw it in Arizona. All right, this is going to be, I think, my last composition of the day. I've come to a spot that's overlooking the salt marsh from the north, heading south. The sun's getting a bit high. So I'm going to have to deal with some sun glare. But because the area that I'm looking at is so wide and flat, I'm going to compose this as a panorama, which is going to emphasize the width and flatness. Now, because the sun is almost in my face, I'm going to have to use my hand to shield it. And instead of using my usual 2-second timer, I'm going to use a 10-second timer. So that'll give me a chance to put my hand in the right spot. It's going to just shade the lens without casting, without actually getting my hand in the shot. Actually, once I crop it, if my hand's slightly in the shot, it probably won't really matter. I've also added a V-stop ND filter, graduated ND filter, I should say, to bring down the brightness of the sky. So I'm going to take a series of images going from left to right. So I want to make sure that the shoreline of the pond is in focus as well as the background. All right, so I focus right about there, in the mid-ground. I'm going to pan from left to right. First image is going to be 1/45 of a second f/13. I'm at about 60 millimeters or so. And I'm not going to show the whole sequence because that'll be the most boring video in the world. But after I finish this, trigger this, you're going to see the finished exposure right now. Okay, folks, I'm going to call that an episode now, at least in terms of landscape photography. Light's getting a bit harsh for that, but it's perfect for wildlife. And there's a lot of birds in the area and even some deer, because I've seen tracks. They're probably deep in the woods right now, but if I see anything that's worth shooting, I'll pop it up. I've got my 100 to 500 mounted on here, and along with the 1.4S extender. So if I do catch any bird shots, you'll see them at the end of the video. So please hang around. Thanks for being still being here. And if you want to see more of this content, please give me a subscription if you're not subscribed already. Give me hit your notification bell. It's right down there so that the next time I upload, you'll see it. And hopefully it's going to be fairly frequently from this point forward. It's now almost mid-February, so hopefully the worst of the winter weather is over. And I can get back to shooting more regularly in the weather that's frankly more suited for me. Thanks again for being here. And until the next time I see you, bye for now.